This is Cole from the Grand Duchy of Ebonmarch, and today we're going to be talking about Monk 101. So there's a 101 class on the Monk class in Amtgard. Like I said, because it's a 101, we're not going to go into super detail about each class and each thing they can do. Sorry, not each class, each spell that a monk can do. But I'm just going to give you a general oversight of what a monk is and a couple roles they can play in the game. So, as a monk, your job. Sorry. First thing first. As a monk, because you are a melee class, I highly recommend safety. Safety is very important in this game. You know, you can't fight if you break your hand. So, first thing, always recommend, because you may be a frontline or a backline monk, I recommend safety gloves. I prefer the MMA style. A lot of people have full hockey glove, lacrosse gloves, stuff like that. That covers your whole hand. I also recommend mouth guards, the style mouth guard. You can just pop in, and you can still be able to talk in it. I also recommend wearing a cup, and I also wear knee pads because taking knees in this game can be very taxing on you. And the longer you have good knee health, the longer you're able to play the game. So, as a monk, I like the class. It's a great class. It's a great class I recommend for new people also because since you have Enlightened Soul all the time, you get to ignore a lot of the stuff in the game and still just be able to fight. But because you are allowed to ignore so much, you need to know how to fight because that is your main thing. So, similar to what I was saying with Warrior and Barbarian, if you're not actually getting your shots on your target, then you are not doing much for your team. Because you're not giving out, say, as a healer, I can walk out there, I don't have to swing on anybody because I can just give out enchantment, blessing his wound, blessing his, blah, 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 whatever. Right? So, one, do your drills. Make sure you're actually able to hit your target. So it can be a hard class for some people because since it is so combat focused, and some people aren't very combat focused, it can be a little hard. May not be right for you. Happens. So also with a monk, since you do not get armor, it is a hard class for some people to start off in. So for a lot of people that say come into the game, they don't want they haven't read the rule book yet. They don't want to, this, that, and the third. Where's that person yelling at me? They don't want to think about the stuff yet. Monk's a great class to start off with because you get to ignore all the verbals. Not spell balls yet, but at least the verbals. And it's also a good class for a lot of new people because a lot of new people come into the game without armor. So, for example, Warrior's a great class, one of the best classes at level 1, if you have the armor for it. If you come into the game, you don't have the armor and all that, hey. So, with a monk, you do not get a shield. So keep that in mind. Do you actually want to play a class that does not have shields? Shields are my crutches. I love shields. I use a shield in darn near every class I play, especially if I'm playing healer. Medium shield all day. If you're not the best at Florentine, maybe, maybe go pole as a monk or something else. You get to have all melee weapons, which that's great, but no shields. As a monk, the different roles that you can play for your team. Granted, this is not set in stone. It's not saying if you're playing a monk, you can only be X, Y, Z. So, because monks do not have armor, monks are usually not the tanks for your team, unless they're a really, really good fighter. But usually, they're not the tanks for your team. Usually, they can be either flankers, sometimes frontline fighters if you're good enough Florentine, because you can stand in the front, ignore all, especially if you're good, level 6 spell ball blocker. That's hard to say 3 times fast. You can still be a frontline fighter, go Florentine, block out spell balls, and still be able to go good from there. But maybe you want to be a backline fighter. Maybe as a monk, you want to be the guy with pole behind the warriors, and the worst they can do is heat your weapon. Uh, so, that brings me into my other thing. Bring equipment to the field. Um, as a monk, because you are afforded all melee weapons, bring all the weapons that you can, or that you have, or you feel comfortable carrying to the field. If I'm playing monk, I will bring a pole. I will bring as many heavy thrones as I can, and I'll bring two, sometimes three swords. Because say if I want to go Florentine, say, hey, this pole situation is not working out, let me go Florentine. What's the first thing that everybody's trying to go for on on a monk is to break their weapons. So bring more weapons if you're comfortable bringing more weapons, or you have the weapons to bring. Um, Another thing as a monk is one, practice the heal spell. Eventually, when you do get that spell, that is very useful for you. So monks get to be autonomous, you can kind of say, a lot in this game compared to, say, a warrior where they're best in a team. And granted, everybody's best in a team. But as a monk, things hit the fan, you can just sanctuary your way out of it. Or you can still pop off a res. A lot of people aren't expecting a monk to res somebody. A lot of people aren't expecting a monk to heal. Because you being a melee class, a lot of people don't think about that. So projectiles. There's different types of bags. Some people have like little hooks you can have for heavy thrown. This bag I have here is kind of big enough for one or two. I have some people have the actual ones with like daggers. I have the big circular frisbee looking ones. It's somewhere around here. I forgot to even bring that in here. But take the equipment you have and use it to your advantage. Like I was saying about roles, you're probably not going to be a tank, but you could be a backline fighter. You could be a pole fighter. You could be a flanker. Because as a monk, as a flanker, a lot of times they're not a caster is not expecting somebody to flank directly at casters, and that caster not be able to hold person or whatever their usual thing is, or I got a spell ball on deck to throw real quick. Spell ball block. So you could be anti-magic, similar to a barbarian. Actually, almost better than a barbarian, depending on your fighting style and whatnot. So you can be anti-magic casters. You can be frontline fighter. You can be a backline fighter. You can be almost combat healer-ish. Granted, you don't get a ton of heals and reses, but you can still be frontline fighting, pop off a heal, pop off a res, whatever. It's a great class. It's a great class to start off in. It's a great class to level up in. Also, it's a great class for Phoenix Ball. So in Phoenix Ball, the couple seconds it takes for you to, I believe there's a video on last Rise and Winds Phoenix Ball played in. But just that notion of, alright, game start, let me step in the field, let me charge this up, that takes a while compared to, or like, hey, let me step on the field, let me persistent pro magic this guy. That stuff takes time. It takes time, it takes all this effort, and then it may not stick, because of dispel and whatever. So, as a monk, they're great in Phoenix Ball because they die, come back, or whatever's going on with them. They are, they're good to go against magic. So, you can have one, two, whatever of them out on the field, and me as a healer, alright, unless I can get this advance in this dude's chest or his leg or whatever, and he's not expecting it and not trying to actively spell ball block this thing, hey, they're pretty good. Especially in Phoenix Ball, where I can't hold person this dude or whatever, and he has a pole that's taking up half the field. They're great for a lot of things. So, like I said, I'm not going to get into super detail about each each thing. Heck, I feel like I almost just did because they don't really have a ton of stuff going on with them. But like I said, it's just a one-on-one, just getting into monks, and what they do, how what their role could be. And later on, I'm probably gonna do a 102, 103, whatever for monks. A little more detail about like when to do what and what, why, and what, should you play monk at this time frame or whatever. But yeah, we'll get into that later. But yeah, this has been Cole with Grand Duchy of Ebonmarch, and have a good day.